Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where today we're going to be talking about a bit more of a serious topic, I guess. I don't really know how to broach this. It's a bit of a weird one, but it's been a big story in kind of not only just the Doctor Who community, but also just the general world of media, news and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to talk about it because it does have relation to Doctor Who, but it is more serious than I would normally cover on this channel. I tend to try and keep my channel and my videos rather light in tone. You know, I'm just a silly guy who talks about Doctor Who news. That's what I try and be most of the time. This will deal with some more serious topics than I normally would. However, because of its relevance to Doctor Who, I do want to cover it, and I do think I have some interesting things to say on it. Before we get into it, subscribe if you're new, that'd be greatly appreciated. I do regular Doctor Who content here on the channel. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers and we're about 800 subscribers away, so if you can help me out, that'd be incredible. But let's just get right into it. So the story that's been making waves today is as follows. BBC set to edit disgraced Huw Edwards out of Doctor Who episode after guilty plea. Now this is by Nicola Metman at The Mirror and it was reported yesterday. So what's interesting about this is that this was reported before today, where today, if you don't know, we officially know that BBC have removed the episode Fear Her, which if you don't know, Huw Edwards appeared in. Now to give you some context, Huw Edwards is basically a UK news reporter. He was kind of the BBC's go-to for many years when it came to reporting on big world events. Particularly, I remember him being the one who announced the death of the late Queen Elizabeth II. But yeah, he's basically been the guy at the forefront of like BBC's news coverage for ages now. And he recently got exposed for essentially texting and WhatsApping minors and having inappropriate relationships with children, basically. It's really, really gross, really, really disgusting, and that's why I opened with the caveat today that this is going to be a more serious topic than I would normally discuss, but the relation to Doctor Who comes in the fact that in the episode Fear Her, which is not one of the episodes with the highest reputation among the fans, there is about a 5-second cameo of him when they are doing the London 2012 Olympic Games segment where Chloe Webber basically erases all of the world from existence and pulls them into one of her drawings where his co-presenter disappears and then everyone around the stadium disappears. And this cameo has sort of led to this episode being removed amidst all the Huw Edwards controversy. So that's basically the basics of what's going on here, but I'll read you some more details. Huw Edwards cameoed as a news commentator in the episode Fear Her in 2006, but it's expected his voice will be edited out and replaced with another actor's. Huw Edwards is set to be edited out of the 2006 episode Doctor Who he featured in. The disgraced star 62 had a cameo as a news commentator in the episode Fear Her, in which a girl is terrorised by a demonic version of her abusive late father. I think as well, obviously I'm not a betting man or anything, but I think one of the reasons why it might be happening to this episode specifically is because of the contents of the story being about, you know, like child abductions, abusive fathers, and child relationships. You get it. It sort of isn't a great look, let's say. Doctor Who is one of the biggest brands when it comes to family viewing. Dad of 5, Edwards, who is reportedly split from his producer wife, Vicky Flynn, appeared as a fictional version of himself on the sci-fi show. Bosses are expected to replace the words spoken by Edwards with another actor's voice. One source said, "It's going to be hard to airbrush Huw out of news events he's covered, but the Doctor Who episode should be straightforward." The story starring David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, Billy Piper as companion Rose Tyler is set during the London 2012 Olympic Games, which, at that point, was 6 years in the future. Edwards is heard many times throughout the episode. That's a bit of an exaggeration. It's about twice. First telling the viewers the torchbearers were making their way up the mall, and later setting the scene for the opening ceremony, saying that the athletes from all over the world are streaming into the stadium. His big moment comes when 12-year-old Chloe Webber, the troubled girl at the centre of the story, makes everyone in the sports stadium disappear. He is heard declaring, "My God, what's going on here? The crowd has just vanished, right in front of my own eyes. It's impossible, Bob. Can we get to you in the box? Not you too, Bob." It turns out the youngster has made 80,000 spectators and 13,000 athletes disappear, with Edwards declaring, "This is a terrible turn of events." Chloe then hears her late father threatening her from beyond the grave, "Chloe, I'm going to hurt you." But her mother and Rose save the day, and all the missing people are returned. The Doctor is then on hand to carry the claim to the stadium, with Edwards declaring, "They've reappeared, it's quite incredible, and a mystery man, we've no idea who he is, has picked up the flame. It's more than heat and light. It's hope and it's courage and it's love. The episode is available to watch on BBC iPlayer along with all other Doctor Who installments since the reboot in 2005. So, that's the basis of the story, and I can confirm that it was followed up by TV Zone, that a BBC spokesperson has officially said the plan is to essentially redub the scene with another news presenter. Who they'll get for that, I'm not sure. But yes, if you go on Series 2 now on iPlayer, you will see it goes from 10 Love and Monsters to 12 Army of Ghosts. There is nothing in the middle. Now, obviously, I'm not particularly mourning the brief loss of Fear Her. It's generally considered to be one of the weakest episodes of revival Doctor Who, 2005 to 2022, that era of Doctor Who. It's generally seen as, one of the lower points, especially in the early revival. However, I do want to talk a little bit about the precedent this sets and kind of where the line is in future for stuff like this. Obviously, in this case, it's a very, sort of minor cameo role. It's mainly just a voice. But it's no secret that Doctor Who has had its fair share of, controversial contributors and even episodes in the past. And I do worry about that going forward because I sort of think, where is the line there? Obviously, we know recently there was the controversy surrounding both Noel Clarke and John Barrowman, which I don't really want to get into. That's a whole can of worms in and of itself. But there was also things like Chris Noth, who played the Trump character in the Chibnall era, who was accused and I think was found guilty of similar level crimes to this. I think it was more, abuse rather than child abuse specifically, but still. And you've got to wonder, where the line is there. Is it just, if they're minor enough, you remove them? If it's the main characters, you can't really remove them? Because I would never want to see, episodes from the early RTD era removed because of Barrowman or Clarke or anything like that, or them wanting to remove them for that reason. Similarly, even though I'm not a big fan of either of the episode Chris Noth appeared in, I do worry about the idea of these things being removed. And I do think, I personally am of the opinion that it is a better idea to put a warning at the start of episodes containing, problematic content, rather than just sort of pretending like it never happened. I think, BritBox handled this very well when they had early Doctor Who stuff on there. They basically said, look, times were different, there's kind of different cultural tastes and different cultural attitudes, and in some cases, some of the people who worked on it, whatever it happens to be at that time, I personally feel is a more sort of justified way of going about this, because I feel as though it should be down to an audience to decide how they want to engage with a piece of media. Again, it's not really too bad, because in this case it is just a couple of lines from an episode that isn't that well liked anyway. But I do worry about, it's Fear Her now, but, where do we draw the line when we start editing stuff like this? As I say, I remember with Curse of Clyde Langer, that got an edit due to it being deemed as unre-releasable, due to, I believe it was the sort of hedged home thing in that story being some sort of really bad cultural, I think it was something to do with the culture of that. I'm not quite sure, I don't quite remember. If you want to correct me, let me know. And that was basically edited. Now, don't get me wrong, I would prefer an edited version than no version at all. And obviously, not the same circumstance, but obviously we all know Unearthly Child is no longer to be found on BBC iPlayer due to the actions of the son of one of its writers, Steph Coburn, who basically says that, they don't have the permission to have it on iPlayer, so therefore Unearthly Child is not on iPlayer. And I think it just kind of goes to show the importance of keeping physical records of things, keeping, DVDs, keeping physical media, and that's why I don't think physical media will ever fully go out of fashion necessarily, because I do think with stuff like this, it is important to have those records. Again, I want to make it very clear, I'm not clamoring to see the episode Fear Her, particularly, I'm not clamoring to see it specifically with Huw Edwards in it, but I think there is a larger conversation to be had around how we deal with things like this in an ever-evolving age. I think it's just an interesting conversation, and I'm not really sure where I fully fall on it, but I want to let you guys sort of have that conversation. Of course, be respectful about it if you can. I get that it's a touchy subject, but I'd appreciate if you kept it, nice and civil in the comments. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.